noting points of agreement and disagreement. So when you want to brainstorm, you ensure that you are readily available for the job, and then you look at the topic, you examine the topic, you see if you are familiar with the topic or not, and then you look out for the headings, the subheadings, and then ask yourself if you have got prior knowledge about the topic and the subtopics in the book. Brainstorming is of two types. We have group brainstorming. The group brainstorming has to do with coming together with colleagues, friends to discuss issues pertaining to the text. You share ideas and build on each other's knowledge. Then the second one has to do with concept or mind mapping, which requires placing the subject matter at the center and developing a map of ideas around it. The second one is pre-questions. Try to come up with questions about the headings and sub-headings. You can come up with questions like questions on the definitions, characteristics, types, examples, and experiences. For instance, if the topic you are reading is family, you can come up with questions like what is a family, what are the characteristics of a family, list the types of family, and so on. So you can generate questions before you even start reading the text. The third one is visual aids. To activate your prior knowledge, you can make use of visual aids. You can use visual aids such as pictures, diagrams, and tables that could be accessed from books, videos, and the internet. Through this, you discover that you have a picture of what the book entails. And we have advanced organizer. Here the learner relates background knowledge with freshly read materials. Such background knowledge include the learner's social background, experience, and previous knowledge. Other pre-reading strategies include being aware of the purpose of reading so that the time you are spending on reading would not be in waste. Overviews. The outline or summary of a particular material would prepare minds of learners about the nature. So you overview the book, you look at the contents. There is always a table of contents at the beginning of each text. So look through the table of contents and see what topics you have in the text. Vocabulary previews. You can also preview the vocabularies of the author. Look at the choice of language. Look at how the author has structured his expressions. So get familiar with the author's choice of language. Study the structure and logical pattern and the general framework of the material so as to know the different types of psychological demands of the reader. So you have to look at the structure and logical pattern of the work. Look at the general framework of the work so that you'll be able to flow well when you are reading the book. Then some information about the author's cultural background, field of study, and ideology would help you to have a better understanding of the content of the book. Pre-reading strategies. When you want to start reading, there are some other things you should know. There is an acronym here which is KWL, and it stands for Know, Want, and Learn. And there are questions around those words. We have the first one, what do I know? The second, what do I want to learn? And the third, what did I learn? Reading strategies. There are many reading strategies and we are going to discuss some of them. The first one we'll discuss is SQ3R, and it stands for survey, question, read, recall or recite, and review. The S first, survey. This involves the act of looking through the text before you actually read it. So you have to survey. Surveying has to do with looking through the text, just taking a look at the whole text from page to page, from chapter to chapter, to know what the book is about. So when you survey, it helps you to know the volume of the work to be covered, and then it helps you to know how the text is organized. It also helps you to decide on how to manage your time while reading and how and where to start reading. And lastly, it helps you to glance at the title of the book, its content, that is the table of contents, the headings, subheadings, and then the other part of it like the captions. You can have diagrams, pictures, tables in the text. Then you can also survey by looking at the questions at the end of each chapter, and you can also look at the summary of the book when you make a survey. Guidelines for surveying. You can rephrase the title or the heading or subheading as questions. For example, if you have a topic like African literature, you can rephrase the topic. You can rephrase that topic to be a question. You can come up with a question like, what is African literature? Discuss the scope of African literature. Highlight the genres of African literature, and so on. And there are usually questions provided by the authors at the end of each chapter. So this is usually provided to ensure that readers are in kind of self-evaluation at the end of each chapter. So through this, you can know what you should expect. When you read through the question, you know what to expect in the chapter, and then you prepare your mind towards answering the questions. You can also survey to explore reasons why your teacher or lecturer recommend a particular text. So, and it is also to ensure that you have a previous knowledge, or you search yourself if you have a previous knowledge on the subject matter of the text. The Q stands for question, and then this is sometimes regarded as a guide or anticipatory question. So readers are advised to compose questions on the subject matter, just like we discussed on that survey. So it is to prolong your interest in the subject matter, to generate new views about the subject matter, and then to enable you to clarify ideas represented in the text. The next R represents reading. Reading is a process of identifying and understanding the meaning of the characters and words in written and printed materials. So when you read, you read to look for answers in the question, and that is when you eventually start reading. You read to look for answers to questions that you have already composed. You read to ensure that the questions provided at the end of the chapters are adequately answered according to what it is written in the textbook. Students should not overlook the captions attached to each diagram, pictures, and tables in the textbook. This would expose you to what the diagram, the caption, the picture, and tables are talking about. Then, while reading, always take a break after a part or section to recall what you have read. So you should not just read without taking a break to recall. You should always try to recall what you have read in a chapter before you move to another chapter. And lastly, you should always underline, highlight, or asterisk important lines, paragraphs, and any other important information you find in the text, so that you can have easy access to them when you are going through them again. Reading speed. Reading speed is very important to study. You have to study the rate at which you read. The speed of reading is very important, and like I said the other time, you don't read at the same speed for every text you handle. So you reduce the speed at which you read as situation demands. Sometimes you have to stop and go over the previously read lines. At times you just have to scan through and go to the next one. So it depends on the type of text you are reading. You should pay attention to bold fonts, italics, underlined expressions, and other communicative means in the text. Reading speeds include skimming. That is the first one we'll be talking about, the reading speeds. Skimming is a very fast reading. I mean, you read at a very fast pace. And there are two types of skimming. The first one is surveying. Surveying has to do with looking at the overall, as you have a kind of overview. You just glance through the work, looking out for topics, looking out for headlines, headings, and so on. Then the second one is scanning. Scanning is a type of reading that focuses on particular points while ignoring others. So you don't focus your attention on everything you see in the book. That is, you have a specific information you are looking for, and